Few fighters in history have exceeded the expectations of fans who want to see them fight no matter what. The human highlight reel is undoubtedly in that category after being a bonus machine for the company in his small run. In this video, we'll see why Justin Gaethje thinks he's just a couple of wins away from another title shot, so stay tuned. First up, Justin finally got his long-awaited nose surgery. When you have a guy like Gaethje, it doesn't matter who he fights. You know it will be fireworks. The last time we saw the highlight match was when he fought Charles Oliveira earlier this year. Since then, Justin has had nose surgery, which he had wanted to do for a long time. Gaethje appeared in the Joe Rogan podcast and talked about how his nose is useless. He couldn't smell anything and wasn't able to breathe very well either. Many fighters try to delay their nose surgeries after their careers have ended, as there's always a chance that the nose can break again, so it's better to wait until you're not getting punched in the face regularly. Justin talked about how his life has changed, and now he can finally anticipate food before he eats. It's the little things in life that you don't appreciate, folks. He had an interview in September in which he said he could grapple and would be allowed to spar again very soon. It'll certainly be a question we'll have when he returns to the cage. Now that he can breathe through the nose, would it help with his cardio? Or maybe he tried to protect himself more than he usually does. But if you know Justin, it's probably not going to happen. If anything, he'll be getting a lot more chaos, making this even more exciting if that's possible. Next up, when will we see him again inside the octagon? According to many sources, Justin will be cleared to compete by the end of 2022, but the highlight wants to take a little more time so that he's fully prepared and ready to face his next challenge. The lightweight division is as stacked as ever, so there are no easy fights. Justin said he wanted a little break after his last training camp and to enjoy life. When the UFC asked him about his next fight, he told them he'd be back next year. Right now, he wants to see the division and all the top guys fight each other, so there's more clarity about who he should fight next. Many people were expecting him to face Rafael Fiziev by the end of the year, but it doesn't seem very likely now. Justin likes to fight once or twice a year, and if you see his style, competing 3 times a year would probably not be very healthy. So he'll likely fight in the first quarter of 2023 and perhaps another time. All that matters is we'll see the bonus machine of the UFC, and now he has a point to prove and remind everyone that he's still one of the best in the world. Let's look at how hard the road to another title shot will be. That was Justin's second title shot, which he had just won one fight after losing to the former champion Khabib Nurmagomedov. There was an argument for him to get a title shot soon after the loss to the Eagle since Nurmagomedov retired, and Justin was the last guy to hold the belt before him when he beat Tony Ferguson for the interim title. Now that he's failed to conquer the undisputed title twice, it'll be hard for him to be in the title picture anytime soon. So it raises the question, what's next? The 33-year-old has already accomplished much in his short time in the UFC, and after so many wars, one can only imagine he wouldn't be able to do this for another decade. Justin had an infamous quote in which he said he had about 4 or 5 wars left in him, and since then, even though he's competed many times, he's only had one fight that he'd classify as a war, and that's the Michael Chandler fight. Gaethje said that his goal is still to be a world champion, and that's what he wants to work towards. He's still very confident that he can beat anybody in the world and become a champion. According to Justin, if he goes out and wins his next 3 fights, he might get another shot. The ideal scenario would be to get 2 first-round KOs so he doesn't have to fight a third time. The former interim champion said once he loses confidence in being the best in the world, he would stop fighting. And now, we'll look at the potential matchups for Justin's next fight. When Gaethje was asked who he'd like to fight next, he didn't give any particular names, but instead he wanted to see who'd win the fight between Chandler and Poirier, since he's fought both of them already. Justin has always wanted to avenge his KO loss to Dustin back in 2018, and who wouldn't want to see a rematch between Chandler and Gaethje? He also wanted to fight the loser of the title fight between Oliveira and Makhachev. This might make sense as he's lost to Oliveira, and he'd like to get that one back. Makhachev is one of the second coming of Khabib, so in a way, he can make peace with that loss too. do. The elephant in the room is Rafael Fiziev, who's been calling out Gaethje for the better part of 2022. Fiziev also underwent nose surgery after his KO win over a former champion named Rafael, if you'd believe it. It would make sense for the lightweight division to have some new blood, and guys like Fiziev represent the next generation of MMA striking. It'd be an all-out war and a perfect test to see if Justin still belongs at the division's top. And there's always Conor McGregor's fights as an option. The Notorious One also plans on returning in early 2023. And what's a more exciting fight than that? If promoted the right way, it might be one of the biggest fights in UFC history. Who'd want to miss that? Next up, we'll be looking at the title fight with Oliveira. The reputation of being a quitter is something that Do Bronx has fully escaped. Justin has another contender in his way who thought he could push Oliveira to his limit and make him quit. And to tell you the truth, he got as close as anyone. The fight started at a very high pace without feeling out of the process. Charles rushed Gaethje and tagged Justin with a right hand within the first 10 seconds. As the round played out, Justin started loading up on his shots and landed many big hooks, which dropped the uncrowned champ. The second knockdown was unfortunately delayed, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it looked like Justin had an advantage in the striking department. As time passed, he started swinging wildly and even slipped as he shifted his weight to put all his power behind the punch. It didn't look like the right approach, but Gaethje just wanted to take his head off in his typical style. It eventually cost him when Charles stayed composed and technical and landed a straight right that dropped Gaethje, which was the beginning of the end. Justin is a high-level wrestler, but doesn't have the best jiu-jitsu. As soon as they went on the floor, Justin looked clueless, similar to the Khabib fight, and he was forced to tap via rear naked choke. Last but not least, we'll look at if Charles intentionally gets knocked down. One of the biggest differences between boxing and MMA is the 10 counts you get after getting knocked down inside the ring. In MMA, as soon as you get dropped, you have a guy on top of you blasting elbows in your face until the fight gets stopped. But Do Bronx has created a style that allows him to have a boxing 10-second rest, as his jiu-jitsu is at such a high level no one wants to go on the ground with him, so he can chill for a while before the referee stands him up again. He's done that many times in his fights, which was very apparent in the Gaethje fight. The second time he got knocked down, it was a few seconds after he'd been punched, so maybe he felt a buzz and wanted to take a break. Imagine having that option when you're fighting the best fighters in the world. It could make all the difference. There was also a point in the Gaethje fight where Oliveira pulled guard, and Justin decided to stand back up immediately. That's called respect, folks, and you only get that when you have the most submissions in UFC history. Well, that's a wrap for this video. Do you think a 2023 title fight looks likely for Justin next year? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one, and we'll see you in the next one.